present the thing up here. Adam, it's all yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone from Melbourne, Australia. I'm Adam Rappaport, research analyst and tech wizard with the team here at GAI Insights, and I'm going to be your moderator again this week. Welcome to the Monday edition of the daily Gen AI news briefing with our team here from GAI Insights, where we rate and we debate the importance of the latest enterprise AI news, giving it a final rating of essential, important, or optional, saving you time. So today I have with me the usual suspects. We have Mr. John Sciocla, Paul Baier, and Ankaj Handa. So with that, I will remind you, if you want to follow along from home, you can go to our website, gaiinsights.com/articles, and see the links to all the articles we're discussing. Ankaj, thanks for joining. Kick us off.
Yes, Ankaj, I think you're on the, it's not the first article here. There we go. Thank you.
Yes, John. Sorry about that. So the first one that we have for today comes from Lending AI, and it talks about agentic object detection.
Yeah, so I'll actually jump in and kick this one off. I think it's pretty interesting, but I felt like it was more marketing than really innovation. And so I'm curious the takes of some of you. But basically what we have here is an extension of the capabilities of object detection. So we already had things like Segment Anything from Meta that could do object detection, but this is almost like a reasoning model that does object detection. And so you can give it much more complex prompts, and with zero training, it can go ahead and identify and sort of segment out different things in the image. So it's a cool feature. It's a powerful, important capability. I feel like it's stuff we could pretty much already do. And it feels more like a step change to me with some marketing. So I actually had it as optional news. John, in the pregame, I know you felt this was pretty important. You want to counter?
Yeah, I just thought that, it is an improvement in capability. So much of how we're going to deal with the difficulty of the environment, whether it's a physical robot moving through an environment, or somebody parsing pictures or parsing, web pages, is so much that's going to be about objects and visual and capability that, and here we have it coming from an important lab. It's available today. It does a better job of analyzing images. Just so much of our understanding of the world, so much of the semantics that we're enhancing the cognition of these robots with has to do with objects and visual objects, that I thought it was important. So anyway, that was my argument for it.
Paul, what do you think?
Optional. I think obviously lots of innovation, but optional in my mind for the and yet another everyday miracle and vector innovation, but optional for the leader.
So Paul, John, I'll push back just a little more here, because one of the things is in this article, it says it takes 20-30 seconds per image.
Yes.
So this isn't really very useful anywhere near real time. At this point, I can see a lot of applications still. But the other thing is they actually don't say how they compare to YOLO, which has basically been the industry leader, or to SAM. And I'm not really sure, just because it's using reasoning, if it's actually necessarily getting much better results. So I felt it was more a wait and see. I may look back on this and be like, that Landing AI agent object detection, was the next level. But I think it's too soon to call this announcement, product announcement, basically out in specific.
All right.
You're gonna be all right with that, thanks.
Yeah,
good. I'll wield the chalk anyway, right?
Edward had a point too, with the Luddites and everything. Only kidding.
I was on the fence until I read 20-30 seconds, and I was like, even YOLO. You can have a video streaming into it, and it's finding the objects real time, right? Like, a lot of those use cases need to process the video more than 20-30 seconds per image. But it's good evolution of the technology, I think.
Yes, I do agree with the sheesh. Machine ability to see is going to be critical. All right, next.
Awesome. Thanks. Move us along.
Sorry, go for it.
All good.
Yep. So the next one comes from The Guardian, and it talks about, does AI need all that money?
Yeah, Paul, the tech giants say yes. What do you say?
all this breathlessness on industry gossip, I think, is totally a waste of time for the leader. It doesn't matter. They're investing like crazy. Innovation's coming. They're more powerful than most countries here. There's no antitrust incoming. And if they're upping from 50 billion to 70 billion, and Amazon's 100 billion this year, it's breathtaking. But for the AI leader, it just means that tremendous innovations continue to come, and they should not waste times on articles. So hyper optional, in my view.
All right, John, we've got a hyper optional. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I think it's good to, lay out, the different levels of, I wouldn't go hyper optional. I would just say optional. I think there's just, what's fun here is that not only do you have, sovereign wealth going back and forth, and I think that the AI revolution is going to be much more decentralized than people think, and I think it's for a number of reasons. One is algorithmic innovation. The second one is all kinds of new capabilities. Warren, Pete, all kinds of new capabilities for folks to do things at the edge, the open source movement. So optional, but I do think that the relationship to capital is going to get very funky and interesting.
Excellent. Yeah, let's go optional on this and say good morning to Mr. Pete Blackshaw. Thanks for joining us. Pete is
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I was on the wrong.
No worries, man. No worries. Pete's the founder and CEO over at BrandRank.ai, and he is also a banana slug like myself, an alumni of UC Santa Cruz. Pete, it's really great to have you back. Do you want to just say a quick hello?
Can I interrupt one thing? You know that?
Oh no, quiet.
You know that Pete invented the banana slug. And
he's the artist. Yeah, the Plato slug.
I didn't invent the banana slug. The banana slug's been around for millions of years.
Okay. In any event, he then gifted, with capital G, gifted the thing back to the university, even though he owned the copyright. So there you go.
Yeah, they paid me a little bit of money.
I could have seen a Blackshaw steak, university, or vodka coming out anytime soon.
Only reason I got an HBS, I'm sure they thought that if he can sell the banana slug, he can sell the Brooklyn Bridge.
I'm sorry, but I interrupted, Pete. You were going to say about BrandRank.
Yes, Pete.
Listen, we're also similar to GAI Insights into the, analytics and interpreting the space. We're focusing on the, how the different LLMs, or what we call answer engines, think about brands. We think that the answer engines are the new purchase funnel, and that it's going to have huge implications for brands. It's a part of the AI space that I think has been a bit overshadowed by the better, faster, cheaper narrative, content narrative with brands. But yeah, we're working with about 16 clients, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's what I love to do, which is to kind of unpack brand meaning and value.
I was thinking about it today, Pete, and the making sure it's fun element is an important part of getting good work done, and I always appreciate that when I get an opportunity to interact with you. So it's great to have you here with us. We're on to Article 3 now. Ankaj, why don't you tee us off with regards to the new Copilot capabilities?
Good, Adam. So the next one talks about GitHub Copilot and introduces agentic AI coding tools in there.
Yeah, John, what do you think of the next level Copilot?
Yeah, I was between optional and important on this. Obviously, there's a lot of folks creating agentic capability. However, GitHub is so dominant in terms of its presence in software development that it struck me that this might be important. The ability to choose across LLMs. Again, for most of our clients we're working with, we're talking about if you're really committing, as you should, to agentic AI and to generative AI, that you ought to be thinking about a hybrid strategy. So this notion of having, multiple models available through GitHub and certainly, creating, as they say in the article, one of the largest AI ecosystems in the market. I think so it struck me as, incremental improvement, but important. So I was going to give it an important.
Pete, I see you nodding over there.
Yeah, no builds. I actually agree with John on it. I think it's got some implications for, enterprise software development, but I wouldn't kind of put it on the must-have list. I think it's important.
Yeah, just a personal honorable mention for Replit, which is discussed in this article. There's also Cursor and Lovable. There are a few pretty good ones all out there, and they all sort of have their niche. But I'll agree, this is an important step. A lot of people use Copilot. It was a huge deal last October when Microsoft opened it up to use other models, really, conceding to the fact that they're not always going to be what people want to use. And this agent that can actually take the extra step, and it says even complete tasks that you didn't ask it to do because it can infer the necessity of them, is a big step forward. So it's worth calling out.
Adam, let me make the case to support the case for important. Software coding, in my view, by far is the most innovative inside the bullseye of where AI is going, and everyone needs to watch it. Everyone's amazed at OpenAI's revenue growth. Cursor went to $100 million faster than OpenAI, the fastest company ever to get to $100 million. Software is transforming, and the AI leader needs to not say, oh, that's coding over in engineering. They need to say, oh, that's over in software coding. What's that going to look like in marketing and sales and everything else? It's by far coming. There's about $4.5 billion in VC money in new coding tools. And I think when we start getting to these, integrated development environments for marketing and sales and customer support, where everyone in the node who's not technical can take advantage of this here, it's coming. So I think from a trend standpoint, it's really important. I also think the last thing, AI leaders need to continue to show. I'm going to another board meeting on Wednesday. Most boards still kind of want all this change to go away. And I think one important way that AI leaders, they need to continue to find examples to help boards and management team understand the tsunami of change is not coming. And software coding is a great example of it. So,
yeah, I just, to this issue of the boards changing and not changing and wanting change and so forth, I do think people have to realize that this is, I'm a big believer in thinking about the world of commerce as punctuated equilibrium. Like every once in a while, you get a big change and things change around, and then things get kind of stable for a while. We are in the middle of that change. To your point, Paul, software is in everything. The fundamental economics and distribution of software has changed radically, and it's increasingly so. The ability to leverage knowledge and expertise is completely changing. So, to stay on the whole issue about this is electricity, this is steam engines. And if you don't reconfigure how you think about your organization, you can just go down to. I grew up in Brockton, Mass, and down the hill from us was my relatives all worked in the shoe factories down there, and 3 out of 4 of my grandparents worked in the shoe factories, and then it all went international and went overseas and so forth. This is bigger than that, right? This is huge.
So John, keep going with that. So if I'm a director, an up and coming person with some length in my career, why would I stay at the Macy's or Toys R Us equivalent in this day and age?
Exactly. You have, what happens is, you have, what you end up with is an organization filled with people who have to be there for financial reasons or they're mediocre. And, that's a really tough organization to run compared to people who want to be there and have lots of options. It's just it's hard to compete with that, as the term who's on the bus, right? With those people on the bus. Not that they're bad people or whatever, but it's just not. It's not going to help you compete.
I think we're living hell out of that article, Adam.
Very important. Yeah, I wouldn't say an essential read, nonetheless, but yeah, well, for sure important. Thanks, Ankaj. On to Meta.
So the next one comes from Meta, and very interesting research around brain to text decoding, a non-invasive approach via typing.
Yeah, here we go. Reading our minds. Mr. Blackshaw, Pete, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'll probably need some help from you guys in terms of, I think it's important. I'm trying to understand how important it is relative to existing science, but it clearly could, advance, revolutionize accessibility, technologies for individuals with, speech and motor impairments. I think that's a huge deal. And I think we're going to see more and more of this type of, innovation, thanks to AI. But yeah, so I would say, and again, I tried my best to kind of get into the tech detail, but at a very surface level, it looks like a very, very big deal. So I would say, essential.
Essential. Wow. I was going to go on optional, Pete, because my understanding of I think that the trend is essential. But for me, it's if I tell me if I remember this right, the error rate was still in the 30s in terms of understanding the intent of the individual. I mean, it's amazing that you can actually read brain patterns and get to cognitive intent. I mean, just again, everyday miracles. But in terms of our ad leader, and I also think that picture that we have here above the in figure 1, obviously the technology necessary to monitor the brain to then get to a 2 out of 3 correct answer is huge. So I thought for me this was optional for our AI leader because it's just super early, both in terms of what it can do today and how you'd have to implement it.
Dissing it on a technicality. Yeah, fair punch.
Dissenting opinions. Paul, what do you think? Where did you land on this one?
Yeah, I'm an optional. I mean, I think companies, we have an AI absorption problem here. And I think, again, spending time on what's going over in the lab right now is a distraction. So optional.
Well, I'd be careful on that one though. If it's stuff like what's going on in the lab, like R1 did in Seek, in DeepSeek. I mean, I think the algorithmic innovations, the thing we just got from Andrew Ng about images and stuff, those things, they're kind of in the lab, but they're much closer to application, I think. This one, the underlying phenomenon is still not, we haven't wrestled down a full third of intent.
Yeah, but at least for me, John, R1 was something we could go use right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Keep driving, Adam.
Yeah. No, I hear both sides. I think I'm going with the crew here, Pete.
Feel the chalk.
I mean, I agree with you. This is important stuff, and it's fairly profound, and it is also in many ways the noise given our specific target, right? Which is that busy AI leader who's even trying to figure out how to find direction for their own organization. So probably for a broader audience, I would agree. Potentially essential. It's pretty, and it's good too because it dispels the concerns a lot of people have about implants, right? And the fact that we can do this non-invasively is a big deal. Yeah. But let's go optional for today, and probably by this time next year we'll just all be having this call without keyboards. So
can we all agree we wouldn't be having this? We wouldn't be having this conversation 3 years ago.
Exactly.
You think? Or 3 months ago, for that matter, almost.
Adam, one interesting point there you were making. I think we struggle at times with having this generalized AI leader and having a very use case or industry specific thing that's important for that. So at least in the back of my mind, our target's like this generalized AI leader, but every generalized leader should really be hyper focused on, what's specific to their industry that's hypercritical. Yeah. So if you're in drug discovery, many articles that we might say are optional would then be things. So if you're doing stuff on brain, this would certainly elevate up.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, well, Ankush does a great job of curating the articles. All of them are certainly fascinating stuff that's coming across hard and fast. So there's often things that we'll call optional that depending on specifically, like you said, Paul, the industry, it might be essential. So it's worth a quick scan regardless. With that, Ankush, let's move along.
So the next one that we have is again a research paper which talks about slowdown attacks on reasoning LLMs. So really interesting on how you can attack more and more LLMs.
Paul, are they overthinking things here?
They're absolutely overthinking. Optional, in my mind. Interesting if you're really in the nuance of the different reasoning models and everything else. But most people, I understand, most people talk today, even CIOs and leaders don't understand the difference between kind of reasoning models and, guess the next best token stuff here. So we're optional.
Yeah, I was leaning that way myself. I'm not sure I could honestly quite explain to you how this works. In fact, so it does get pretty deep technically. Pete, were you able to weigh on this? What did you think?
Yeah, I'm with Paul on this one. I mean,
Yeah, fair
yeah,
enough.
no.
Optional, John, you good with that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting how we have new threat vectors which have to do with timing when you have reasoning models. But yes, optional.
Yeah, it's yeah, the whole the threat landscape is continuing to transform. There's going to be emergent properties there as well. This being one of them, I had certainly never even considered. And optional at that. Let's move along. Thanks, Ankash.
And,
The
and
last one that we have. Yes, Paul.
sorry, I just want to give Pete a heads up. I mean, I think let's take 5 minutes in and have Pete share what he saw on the AI generated ads for the Super Bowl last night. Pete,
Oh,
Pete's got a really a set of expertise that we're not leveraging any of these models here. So let's leave some time after this article.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
now I want to go back to the first one that I missed, unfortunately, because I did actually test the tool a fair amount, and I thought it was actually quite good. Yeah, listen, on this one, barring regulatory compliance issues, known hallucination factor, and some intellectual property issues, I just think anything that kind of accelerates the biopharma area is a potential breakthrough. So I would say it's essential. I mean, if it can lead to faster drug development, improve patient outcomes, that's a really, really big deal. I thought they had really good, novel use cases in the mix that they highlighted. And so, yeah, I thought it was, interesting and essential.
A few good use cases in there. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I was more on the optional camp on this one. Sorry, Pete.
That's all right. That's all right.
We invite you on this thing. It's like,
We don't have tension. We don't have a good programming. That's
yeah, I thought the use cases were interesting. I think it's smart to go across the different parts of the value chain. In terms of where it can help in terms of biopharma. I just thought that the thing we haven't seen yet, because we've seen a lot of different parts of a lot of different case studies of new potential to explore new spaces or to help with the value chain. The part I don't think we've seen yet is any actually end-to-end new drug or new capability that was AI generated. So I think there's a lot of promise, but we're not landing it yet. So I just thought that a bunch of these things have been mentioned before, nicely put together. But I could support important. I don't think of it as essential. Obviously, if you're in that industry, I'd say essential. But I could support important.
Okay, we got an important, essential. What do you think, Paul?
I think it's important for people in the industry, optional for everyone else.
Yeah, that's sort of where I was as well. I think we could call it an important read overall, which means certainly we're not saying you have to get across this. And I think for the people who it's relevant, they're going to appreciate us at least highlighting that.
Yeah, I thought if you go, guys, if you go down to Exhibit 6, they've got foundations for success, business-led digital roadmap, talent, operating model, technology, data, adoption, scaling. I mean, that's, I think, pretty. I think it's true of any technology. This stuff here. So, what I mean. Anyway, all right. Where do we land, Adam?
We're going important on this one. Thanks, John.
All right.
And I think that gets us through the lineup with 5 minutes left. Ankash, if you have the final tally, while he's getting that together, Pete, why don't you catch us up on the Super Bowl now?
Well, I was also going to say I thought the first one was related to the agentic object detection was really, really interesting, and my head was spinning with all the potential applications, even for our own business. I did kind of run a few inventory screens through it. I even ran the home screen of our website and asked it to identify things that weren't actually that obvious to the naked eye. And I was actually pretty amazed. And so I
Now,
got,
Pete,
yeah.
let me ask you, because I pushed back on this one. There's the segment anything model from Meta, and what's actually been out for quite a while, which I think is open source, is YOLO, which is you only look once, which can do real time with video already. And this one takes 20 to 30 seconds per image. Like, was that your experience? Was it? I mean, it was just a single image, and then you're waiting, and then it gets you a result.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, you know,
there's anything really new in here, or is it just really nicely packaged?
I mean, I may be a sucker for the wait just because I think something powerful is going on. It's kind of like my $200 a month, which I just subscribed to, which I'm really digging. But you know, I do. I actually I feel like the wait is giving me value. So
if sometime we took that same image and we put it through like Meta's SAM, well, you know, I'd be curious to see what kind of result it gets, because that was the thing is this didn't give any metrics, so we have no idea like how it performs compared.
Can you send me your list of favorite substitutes like the YOLO?
Yeah, YOLO and SAM. I'll
so they'll analyze videos.
Cool. Yeah, they do. Yeah,
like they could take a Super Bowl ad and actually, like, can it think through the video or just describe the video?
They'll identify the objects in it, you know, like on the video, like, you know, when you see the cars coming down the highway and it counts how many are trucks, you know, that kind of thing.
Great way to quantify product placement.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
How many people in the audience have a Budweiser in their hand?
I know.
In high definition.
Awesome.
So Pete, about those Super Bowl ads, nice segue.
Yes.
Well, listen, I mean, the big argument.
Actually, sorry, let's do the board first, and then we can pull that down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thanks, Ankaj. Looks like we rounded out the day with 3 importance, 3 optionals, a nice balanced day for our readers. Back to you, Pete.
Yeah, I was going to say today was a bit more technical for me, so I was a little bit nervous walking into this, I have to admit. So, listen, I think I haven't really said anything new on Super Bowl. You've been hearing my argument, you know, ad nauseum that, you know, there's a really important relationship between content that brands host and the way the algorithms kind of feed on content and then ultimately recirculate it to consumers. Ergo, if you're dropping $7 million per 30 seconds on a commercial and, you know, you expect some degree of curiosity come out of it. I couldn't imagine like great advertising not sparking curiosity. Then you want to kind of feed the secondary layer of engagement. And most brands, nobody did it ahead of the game. There were definitely a handful of brands that actually did it right at that very, very moment. So I'll kind of, you know, give them some, you know, high fives. You know, I'm trying to remember the one that was, I actually listed them all on my LinkedIn page, the ones that I actually thought that came through. But I just think we need to think about media, not, you know, you can't be unidimensional about media. You got to think really, really holistically about what the consumer might do and the role of AI and how you feed it. And I think the industry has a long way to go, which means there's a lot of money still being wasted. Yeah. And for those of us that can pinpoint it, value for us.
Pete, I think it's great. And everyone's watching a game has phones. I mean, I didn't watch the game. Was there a lot of QR codes even in the ads?
No, I didn't see a lot. There's one promo where people could get, you know, $10,000, but I didn't really see a lot of call to action. And again, this is always the problem. Like, people give up on things too early. And so the notion of call to action was so intuitive in the early days of Super Bowls, like year 2000. And then, you know, people just concluded that it didn't really pay out, but it was a premature thing. Now we've got this, everybody's curious after getting stimulated. And I think you might be able to dramatically increase the ROI of any type of paid advertisement.
Now, did any of you catch Perplexity and what they did at the Super Bowl?
No.
If you download their app and you use it, I think it was 5 times during the game you were entered in a draw for $1 million. Right. And they also had the real-time update during the election. Right. So it's really interesting to see in ways that they're almost building apps through their interface and starting to really engage and connect in some of the ways you're talking about, Pete. So,
but the big news is that OpenAI had a 60-second commercial, and, you know, they're, you know, only a couple of years old, and now they're kind of advertising in the Super Bowl. And it just shows that this stuff really has become mainstream. And it's kind of good news for all of us, right? I mean, this stuff is really, if it's kind of hit the tip, whether the ads are truly efficient or not, the fact that they're being advertised at scale to the planet is telling us that, AI has clearly arrived. I mean, I think it took, Google like 8 years to like get a Super Bowl ad, maybe longer. And here you've got OpenAI, being blasted to, 1 billion people, as though it's something people use all the time.
Which they do. Hyper Moore's law indeed. Thank you, everyone. Yep. Thank you, Pete, for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, you bet. Sorry, I was a little bit late. I gotta, when you send the invite, make sure I've got the right, or maybe it was probably my
That was
fault.
our mistake, Pete. Our apologies. That was our team's fault. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you from the whole team to those of you who are tuning in and listening and participating in the discussion through the chat. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Yeah. Paul, tell us about the Learning Lab.
Learning Lab tonight, we've got a Seeker, which is a very innovative company doing enterprise AI, particularly around unstructured data, to have it high accuracy and secure. So they've raised $150 million doing some really innovative things. So stop by and get a demo and ask them the tough questions. 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific.
Yeah, Paul, and if you want to go deep on future of search, get Hank on sometime. I mean, I'm having a hard time keeping up with him, but there's just like so much to talk about on that front.
We need to get him back. Well, yes, yeah. We'll do, Pete.
Excellent.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
everyone. Have a great day.
Bye now.